This is our podcast, where we belly flop into the bouncy house of mystery, surrounded by conspiracies and unexplained phenomena, with theories so bizarre, they may actually make you say,
"Are they thinking with their butt?" Welcome back, everybody.
"Oh my God."
I'm Katie.
And I'm Chris.
Chris is in the farty mood right now.
Yeah, but it's past now, so moving on.
So this is Stop Thinking with Your Butt. Welcome back.
Welcome back indeed.
I don't know that we have anything weird or unusual that's happened in the last week, but we do have something kind of awesome.
Yeah, well, a couple things. We have in front of me a freshly brewed coffee from a Triangle Coffee Company. This is specifically Area 51 decaffeinated, a medium roast, and it's 100% Arabica. Oh my gosh, why am I not saying that correctly? Arabica. You're just looking at me weird, but it's okay.
I got nothing.
That type of coffee. Arabica. There you go. Perfect. So we are going to test it real quick and see how it turns out.
Yeah.
So hold up. Every time I drink something on here, it just sounds weird. But okay,
How is it?
it's good. It's smooth. It's a decaf, but we won't hold that against them. It's okay.
They have other blends. This coffee was because we're coffee connoisseurs, coffee snobs. We love coffee any time of day. So a decaf is perfect for the afternoon because after 1 o'clock, coffee for me doesn't mix well with my sleep habits.
Yeah, well, I drink at least 2 cups. It was good. I think I would buy it.
What other blends do they have?
Well, first of all, the reason why I like this company, because, we do mysteries, paranormal, other different things. This coffee is called Area 51. They have other things like the Aurora or Roswell and some other different things.
Yeah,
and
that's a lot of fun names. Very up our alley.
Yeah, and their picture is Triangle Coffee, and the triangle is a picture of a UFO. So a little bit of my heart favoritism is going on. And
so check them out. If you guys want some weird coffee in your life, check out Triangle
Coffee Company, trianglecoffeecompany.com. And it's awesome. And they're also on Twitter. So yeah, please give them a follow. And I know we're going to be shooting something out. So if you're following us on Twitter, follow Triangle Coffee Company and appreciate the donation of the sample. And it was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huzzah.
Huzzah. Awesome. Well, thank you for that.
Okay. So this isn't really strange or weird. It's really more just me being an idiot.
That does not happen.
Last episode, I said I was going to get more into the Kabbalah this time around.
Oh.
I'm totally not. I should have finished my research before I made such a bold claim. I'm not going to talk about the Kabbalah. But if you're curious, going back to the last episode during the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn and their study of Kabbalah, the Kabbalah is really, it's the tree of life.
Mm-hmm.
It's the origin of the tree of life. It's the Hebrew esoteric teachings, which esoteric we learned from last word of the day.
I've heard that so many times since we last recorded.
The Kabbalah is meant to explain the relationship between God and man. Through this tree of life. And there's 12 points on this tree, and each point represents a different path of learning and consciousness and things like that.
Nice.
I don't know if I explained that very well.
Well, it's in a lot of different religions.
It's a lot of, right? It's like every religion studies it. It's not just a Hebrew. It's not just for the Jewish community.
It's like the tree of life and it's other things.
Yeah. And so it's like a lot of occults will study Kabbalah on their path to understanding.
Or enlightenment.
Yes. You ready to get your brain blown out? Your butt?
Whoa.
Brain blown out your nipples?
Stop. I like my do I?
Where would be the weirdest? Ooh, let's see.
Armpit.
Oh, yeah.
That'd just be weird.
If your brain just fell out your armpit.
I am ready to listen to what you said, because last episode, I feel like we laughed a lot, and it was a pretty interesting Just everything. Yeah. So I'm excited to see what we're about to talk about today. So I'm somewhat ready to get my mind blown, not out of anything, but just metaphorically, I guess.
No, I want it physically blown out of an orifice.
My ear holes.
Yes, there you go. Okay, so today we are finishing off where we started. Not really talking about the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn much this time, but a man who goes on to be the father of the occult.
Yeah, that douche could do.
The Beast 666 and the wickedest man in the world.
I want to hear all about it.
Aleister Crowley. I don't want to put a trigger warning out there too soon.
But no, it's coming.
It's coming. It's coming. What?
That's what she said.
I walked right into that one. I skipped into that.
Batter up?
Yeah.
I even paused first. I'm like,
you did even pause.
I'm like, you can't pass that up.
You jerk. Okay. Sources.
Oh, God. I mean, yes. Ooh. Enlighten.
ResearchGate. Atlas Obscura. That's. It's a magazine. Okay. It's kind of like People, but don't
explain. I don't care.
Historic Mysteries, Britannica, Wikipedia, All That's Interesting, National Trust, University of Northern Iowa, Open Culture, and a million more.
And me.
Not even you. Aleister Crowley.
Yes.
Was originally born Edward Alexander Crowley in 1875 into a wealthy brewing family.
Yep, 1875. Got it. This is what country?
England.
Okay, England. Got it.
And this is where it's a little confusing. There's just so many, I don't know if they're consequential or inconsequential, but his parents were not brewers. His grandfather was a brewer, and he owned Crowley's Alton Ales.
Yes, hand me down.
And he was rich. He was filthy.
Yeah, you mentioned that he was like an adventurer. So you can't be an adventurer unless you're rich. That's like
he was filthy stink. He was loaded.
I feel like everyone in these secret cults have to be loaded.
A lot of them are.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's unknown and it's something special, I guess.
But as with his upbringing, it kind of seems like I never read anywhere specifically that it said that his parents didn't work for the ale company.
And they managed it or something.
They were devoutly religious. Mm-hmm. They were radical Protestants.
Oh, okay.
His parents were devoutly religious and constantly were warning him about the dangers of temptation and the horrible consequences of sin.
Hey, you do you.
Yeah. They belonged to the Plymouth Brethren sect, and his parents were considered radical Protestants, which is synonymous with radical anti-pleasure.
Oh my gosh. Well, let's break this down real quick. First of all, anytime you're associated with radical
it's never a
anything.
Good radical anything.
That's not good.
A radical
moderation.
A radical cat lady.
Not good.
That's not good.
Nope.
A radical tree hugger.
Nope. Not
also
good.
Not good.
What do we have in Oregon? The elves?
Yeah.
Right? What is that? The Environmental Liberation Front?
Something like that. Yeah. It's not good.
Not good.
Not good.
Even I was going to say coffee.
Your intentions are great.
Like, here's the thing.
But you're radical.
We love coffee. And if I'm a radical coffee drinker, my body's not good. My kidneys like, what are you doing? Drink some water, please.
Yes. So everything with moderation,
Yes.
Correct? Okay, moderation. His parents were not. They were radical.
And anti-pleasure too, right?
Anti-pleasure. Everything was a sin. So his father...
I'm feeling happy.
Kind of. It was literally like, no more happiness.
Okay.
So his father would write sermons and religious pamphlets, and Aleister would go with his father across country and listen to his evangelism. One of his father's sermons that really caught my attention was "Happiness lies in obedience." I kind of feel like that's a summary of
like be a slave and be subjective.
Yeah.
Be a subject and sheeple.
Yeah. So through all accounts, his parents were very strict, very devout, and paved the way for a horrible childhood. We
are not dissing religion here.
No.
Hey,
no, not at all.
You do you. Hey, if this is your boat that you want to float on, go do it. I just think it's weird.
It's weird as fuck, man.
Hey, no, you do you. Free country.
Yeah, no, Yeah, this is nothing against any religion. Maybe the radicals.
But if you're radical in anything, I just question you.
Yeah. Yeah. But in all the accounts of all my records that I came across.
You okay there?
Yeah, I was burping. in all the accounts I came across, Edward Alexander loved his dad.
Yeah. Does he, or is it like programmed?
He even aspires to be him.
Ooh.
I think it's a real love because...
Yeah, because they don't necessarily think it's a bad thing.
Dad dies.
Ooh, what age?
In 1887 when Aleister is 11.
Yeah.
Well, so he's not Aleister yet, excuse me. Edward Alexander. And he spirals like...
He's 11-year-old. Where does he spiral to?
I'll tell you where he spirals to.
I should ask him.
So this is when a deep, deep hatred for his mother is formed.
Can I just go back just maybe a minute?
Okay, what?
Just so you know, for those who don't have the visuals that I do, when Katie was burping, she was like karate chopping the air. And I thought that was hilarious. But you can't see it, but she was doing knife hands and everything.
I don't know why I was doing it. It was like I was fighting the burp out of me.
I don't know. So sorry. I see this all the time because we've been together for a very, very long time.
I'm radical.
It's fun.
I'm radical.
Cute. Radically cute.
I'm radically cute.
All right, let's go.
Okay. He hates his mom. Okay. His dad is dead. He hates his mother. I cannot emphasize enough how much he hates his mom. He hates her. Okay. He hated the church. Which I kind of feel weird. Like maybe.
How could he hate the church if he respected the dad so much? I was like,
maybe it's one of those like psychological things where the dad died. So now it's like he turns his back on God, turns his back on the church because the one thing that he cared about is gone.
Yeah. Or the mom wasn't sympathetic type of thing to that. Okay. Interesting.
So he hates the church. His mother is hiring tutors and he despises all the tutors. They can't keep a tutor because he's just being obnoxious. He's becoming increasingly more rebellious as the years go on. He later goes on to state that I had arrived at the conclusion that the Plymouth Brethren were an exceptionally detestable crew. I wanted sin, a supreme spiritual sin, but hadn't the slightest idea how to go about it.
Well, what I'm thinking is I don't cry a lot because I'm a man. But if you ever read the book or watch the movie, The Calling. Nope, that's not it.
A Monster Calls.
A Monster Calls, where you have... I won't spoil it if you haven't read it, but if you have read it, it's an awesome book. Read it. And it's about a young child around this 11.
You're giving yourself more credit.
Oh, okay. I don't know why. But
you didn't read it.
I did not read it at all. I watched the movie. But whatever. I watched the movie and it was amazing. So the mom's going through cancer and it's just the boy who's rebelling, getting angry and whichever. And it's like, it's not your fault. You can't blame him for lashing out. And so it was a wonderful moment. And I'm thinking, same thing, 11-year-old lashing out. You get a pass sometimes for being a douche canoe at that age. But at some point, you need to grow and move up.
So at the age of 16, things changed.
Oh, here we go. Positive. Let's go.
He has sex with a maid on his mother's bed.
Oh my gosh. Thanks for...
and make sure that she knows about it.
Oh, and make sure she knows about it.
Yeah. So...
he put his man musk.
Yeah. So his he's flaunting it. He's super arrogant about it. The maid is actually fired and she's forced into a life of prostitution. Because her reputation's just been ruined. So his mother begins calling him the Beast.
Oh,
his mother starts calling him the Beast. And he adopts this title, like, readily. He actually even goes on to refer to himself as the Beast 666. And he wants people to refer to him as the Beast 666.
Ego much?
Yeah, he's very egotistical. So we're in the middle school years.
Oh my God, middle school.
Yeah, which is probably the worst, I would think. So he's now in middle school, and one source says that he was removed from a school in his hometown. Okay. Worcestershire.
Great job.
Worcestershire.
Nope. First time go.
I did it.
First time go.
You know, it's like Worcestershire.
Don't need to explain.
Worcestershire.
I get you.
So he was removed from a school in his hometown for being so horrifically unpopular with the other pupils. That was a quote. Yeah, so his mother sends him to a school called Tunbridge, which is a school for boys between the ages of 13 and 18 in Kent. And it's very affluent. And it's a private school. So she had to pay a lot of money for him to get in there.
Yeah, they have a lot of money.
He doesn't set himself apart academically here, but he does set himself apart because he eventually gets expelled because he contracts gonorrhea from a prostitute.
Why would that expel him?
It's the 1800s. You can't do stuff like that.
Yeah, but why is that? That has no bearing on the school.
Yes, it does.
Does it?
You are a reflection of your institution.
Ugh, yeah. A private institution, I bet. Yeah. Okay. Rules and all that.
Yeah. So he bounces around different schools and eventually lands at Cambridge University, which I'm like, what? I'm like, that sounds like a hop, skip, and a jump.
No, at that time, you just paid your way in.
Yeah, I was like, at that time.
Our prestigious, okay.
And he starts publishing erotic poetry.
Ooh.
Yeah. His poetry was so crude and so distasteful that he would have been persecuted. But he published everything out of country under a pen name and was able to get away with it. But one critic goes on to say that his writing is the most disgusting piece of erotica in the English language. And I read a few of his poems.
I was about to ask it. Did you read it? How was it? Tell me.
First
of all, were you turned on?
I will go on and say that they were some of the most disgusting pieces of erotica in the English language.
You got to describe it. Was her long loving, like wooing someone? Was it like, I'm going to torture you?
The one that I read involved cunnilingus and farting in faces and absorbing the farts through the senses. What? And yes.
I may try that later. You're welcome.
So gross.
Save that.
So gross. Okay, so while at Cambridge, it's brought to his attention that there are secret societies that practice the occult and dark magic. And he's like, hot damn, I want in. I want in. And around that time, he turns 21 and receives a third of the family fortune from his grandfather who has passed. His father had set it aside for him so that when he came of age, he would have access to it.
Yeah. Was 21 of age?
So he's 21.
Okay.
He's rebellious AF.
Nice.
And now he's a millionaire.
Oh my gosh.
This is like not
classic douche.
Not a good combination. So he leaves Cambridge.
Does he graduate?
I don't think so. I don't think he does. Because he was only there for 3 years, regardless. I didn't confirm that.
Because people do that for like prestige, right? It's like you're an alumni.
I attended Cambridge.
Not attended, but you're an alumni. Yeah. Right? You graduated. Okay.
I don't know. I didn't look that part up. So he starts playboying it up really hard. He travels to Mexico, to Egypt, to China, to Algeria. And on one of these trips, he has an experience that encourages him to change his name from Edward Alexander Crowley to Aleister Crowley.
What?
It's indicated in some sources that this is his first escapade into homosexuality. And it changes him and it inspires him to change his name.
Okay.
This needs to be said because it becomes part of who he is later on. He's actually a really, really good mountain climber and like a really good explorer. And he joins like several really prestigious clubs for like-minded adventurers. Like he's known for, even now, like there's still, because I don't know if you know anything about mountaineering. I don't know a ton, but if someone's scaling a mountain, they have like their carabiners or like their rock picks or whatever they called.
Yeah.
And they'll hook lines to them. Yeah. So that way the people behind them can come up easily. Like it's the guideline or whatever it's called.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about? You're looking at me like you have no idea, but you're saying yes.
No, I'm saying yes. I just don't know the exact
I don't know the terminology.
But I know what you're talking about.
But, so he's putting the
And I don't want to say that I don't know because I don't want to undermine myself.
So he's putting the first line up mountains.
Yeah, he's the point man.
Exactly. The front runner. The front guy.
Point man.
Point man. Front runner. Front guy.
Whatever. Tomato.
So anyway, it's all going to come back full circle in a little bit. So 2 years after leaving Cambridge,
does he do international or
yes,
domestic?
Everything.
Oh,
everything,
okay.
everywhere. So 2 years after leaving Cambridge, he comes upon the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. And we all know how that ended if you listen to the last episode. He pretty much worms his way in by befriending one of the founders. He feels like he's in his element. He's studying old texts. He's learning some rituals.
He's finding a purpose.
He's flying through the curriculum until
growing.
He can go no further. He's pissing everybody off. And then the whole order collapses on itself.
I'm rooting for him.
Nope, don't do that. From our last episode, we know that he was a key factor in the disbanding of the Golden Dawn.
Yes.
In his autobiography, he states that he felt like the Golden Dawn had been playing at magic the whole time, but never really achieving it.
Ooh, what
so
did he learn?
Set out to achieve it.
I love his... I'm rooting for him. Let's go. Yeah.
So this is where things start to get batshit crazy. So he wanted to try anything he could to achieve a connection with the secret chiefs, angels,
yep,
or demons, or anything on another plane.
Yeah.
In 1899, Aleister Crowley decides that he is going to perform a ritual called the Abramel.
Interesting term to call a ritual.
It's a black magic ritual that no one else has dared to touch in centuries.
Nice.
One of the texts that he studied with the Golden Dawn was the Book of the Sacred Magic of Abramel and the Mage.
Okay.
And in this book, it describes this very precise, very demanding ritual to contact other beings. The ritual should take you approximately 6 months to complete.
Wow. That makes sense, because I was about to say, how is a ritual demanding? 6 months? You answered it.
Yeah. Maybe I'll skip ahead a little bit, but the ritual requires you to be like up 20 hours a day, be on a diet of bread and water, be abstinent from sex and alcohol. Plus you have to be doing incantations and invocations like on a daily, following like patterned callings and utterances and lighting candles and daggers and...
That seems exhausting. And it also seems like if it doesn't work, you could be like, well, over the 6 months, you clearly made a mistake.
Right. So he tries to find, though, the perfect place to conduct this ritual because he wants it to be like uninterrupted ground.
Yeah.
And so he actually finds a house on the shore of Loch Ness in Scotland.
Nice.
Which is like, what? This place calls to him. That's the perfect place. So he buys the house there, and it's called the Manor at Boleskine.
Okay.
Or Boleskine House. The Abramel was documented as originated in the 14th century. This ritual was supposed to give you the ability to master demons.
Own those demons.
But if done incorrectly, you could potentially unleash demons onto this plane of existence, which could inadvertently lead to possession.
I would say demons are already on the plane.
I think so too.
So, yeah.
Like our mailman. Just kidding.
What?
Just kidding. He's a good guy. He's a great guy. Some of the tools needed to perform this ritual involve a black mirror, dagger, chalice, candles, black and red candles.
I just bought a black mirror.
I know. We're just like, why do you even have that?
Dungeons and Dragons.
I know. Stop it.
Awesome.
Stop it.
Props.
Yeah. Word squares, which was interesting because it's literally just a square, like a 3 by 3 with different symbols or words in the square. So there might be 24 symbols on a square, but it's a square of symbols to the east, a square of symbols to the right. I didn't go too much into it because I didn't want to accidentally summon demons to this plane.
You should have called me over.
I know, and then also some crystals. But the introduction, the first line of the Abramel says something along the lines of, warning!
Warning.
Do not stop what you're doing!
Do not attempt.
It's like, warning, do not perform the ceremony.
How do they even find the ceremony out?
It's in this book. It's in this book about Abramel and the Mage. I was trying to find, if I can find it, I'll put it in the show notes. I was trying to find a list of Aleister Crowley approved reading material. If you wanted to research more, or because I have nothing against the occult. It's specifically what he was doing that's a big no-no.
I have an awesome question. And we may have to do this offline and then talk about that as our next weirdest thing.
I might have a radical response for you.
Is there any of these cantations, not 6 months worth of like whatever, but like something small that we could do?
I'm going to give you a piece of 1 or 2.
Nice.
But just a piece because I don't want to summon because everything.
Let's try it.
Everything that because everything that he was doing was evil.
Well,
no, not
Justify
well. No, stop it.
Control.
No. Okay, so
I heard if you do it backwards, you can get.
I couldn't specifically find the Abramel, but I also didn't try very hard because I was nervous. So the actual aim of the ritual is to invoke the magician's guardian angel.
Oh,
that's what the whole point is to get contact your guardian angel specifically. But in order to do that, you have to invoke the 12 kings and dukes of hell.
Oh,
being
now I get it.
Lucifer, Satan, Leviathan, and Belial.
Huh.
And bind them, thereby gaining command of them.
Seems improbable.
Yeah. And so it's like...
I get it.
Can you
no,
see where
you convinced me.
Okay.
I would rather not.
You wanna,
let's not.
You
let's
want to do a
not.
little bit? No.
Nope.
Okay. That's what I thought.
If in order for me to do that, I have to like not only summon but bind these.
You have to.
Moving
you
on.
have to gain control of that. Do
I
you
will
see
not.
that happening?
Nope.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm getting tired just thinking
And
of it.
this. Okay. So for him to think that he can do this, just build to his egotistical nature. Just keep building to it. Okay. One of the beginning steps of the Abramel needs you to release a lot of other spirits.
Okay. Ooh.
It doesn't specifically say human or animal sacrifice.
Yeah, but you have to release it.
Alluding to it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Around the 6-week mark, Aleister just goes, I'm done.
Like, yeah, I can see that.
It's too hard.
That's acceptable.
He'd been getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning, performing invocations, living on bread and water, and it was just too hard, so he stopped.
You sound like that's a bad thing. That's 6 weeks of crap.
Okay.
Even the best of men can't.
So while Aleister was in the process of performing this lengthy ritual, he's called to Paris by one of the leaders of the Golden Dawn.
Okay.
So it's like he was kicked out. The Golden Dawn's still kind of happening.
Oh, he was doing the 6-month ritual during this time?
No, after it's been disbanded.
Yeah. Then
he's
he did it.
Doing it, trying to
got it.
prove himself.
Ah, okay, got it.
And then they're like fizzling out internal war, and they're like, "Hey, come on, I want to talk to you about something." And he's like, "Hop, skip, jump." He stops doing the ritual and he goes back to Paris. Legend has it, because he was actively summoning demons into this home, and he never finished it. This location is now like a open door.
Huh. Do you have backstory to that? Or do you have an
a little
additional?
bit? We'll do that at the very end. I'll tell you at the very end.
That's a fun note
about this
episode.
house. Yeah. So he never banishes or cleanses the demons that he supposedly did summon. And it leads to strange happenings and occurrences around the Boleskine house. Just a little bit. His housekeeper, Hugh Gillies, suffered a lot of tragedy, including the loss of 2 of his children unexpectedly. And Aleister Crowley's response, he later claims that his experiments in black magic had simply gotten out of hand.
So he thinks that does he believe that his rituals killed the kids?
I don't know if he ever admits to it, but the people who...
He likes the image of it, though.
Yeah, he likes the image of it. And the people who knew Aleister Crowley believed that he was doing things.
I could see them pointing blame to that.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'll talk more about the house a little bit at the very end. This is going to be a long episode, so I'm just trying to...
No, my bad.
Keep the pertinent things in the front. He goes to Paris. He's doing things in Paris. In 1902, he bros out and attempts to climb K2.
Good job.
Yeah. So in those days, nobody had any clue what they were doing because it hadn't been
still new.
I think the first successful climb was in 1954.
Wow.
So he's trying to climb K2, which is good. Yeah, good. They thought they would go to the Himalayas and knock off K2 in a couple of days, but as the expedition proceeded, it started falling apart. One of his climbing buddies, Eckstein, or actually the leader, Eckstein, had a bad respiratory infection. Crowley contracts malaria and spends most of the time in his tent with a high fever. At one point, he gets so delirious that he starts waving his revolver at other members of the team. Huh. So they don't reach the summit. But
it doesn't seem like it's going too well.
But it ends well in terms of they were the first to attempt to reach the summit of K2, and no one died.
That is true. They contacted malaria.
And no one died.
That is interesting.
That is okay. The year is now 1903. Crowley goes to Paris again. He's back in Paris. He meets Rose Kelly.
Ooh.
And marries her the very next day.
That got weird quickly.
He was trying to...
It doesn't seem like he's the type of guy who would want to marry either.
He's the type that probably shouldn't be married.
Both.
But I read somewhere that it was like just to avoid scandal and naysay. It was like just do and go, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not going to date you. Your family's not going to approve. Let's just get this over with, you know? Mm-hmm. So it was one of those things. So he takes her to Egypt for a honeymoon. Mm-hmm. Help me dissect this here. Crowley writes in his journal, the honeymoon was a period of uninterrupted debauchery. Once in the first 3 weeks or so, Rose took some trifling liberty.
Trifling liberty?
I recognized the symptoms and turned her up and spanked her. So henceforth added the qualities of a perfect wife to those of a perfect mistress. What does trifling liberty mean?
It's up for interpretation. But it sounds like
It sounds like maybe she backtalked him or something.
That trifling bitch.
Yeah. 3 weeks into their marriage, Rose maybe backtalked him. I recognized the symptoms and I spanked her.
So it seems like he's like the dominant submissive or the 50 Shades of Grey her type of thing.
Yeah.
Right? And they're like, you obey.
He does get involved in a lot of sadistic, like sexual
bondage
activities.
Stuff.
Yeah. Like torture, things like that later on.
Poor girl.
After dinner one night, him and Rose take candles and they sneak into one of the pyramids.
Okay.
Into the king's chamber. Aleister Crowley's journal goes on to say, I wanted my wife to see what a great magician I was. We went a-courting after dinner with candles. I had with me a small notebook in which was written the preliminary invocation of the Goetia, which is the equivalent of a black magic book. Mm-hmm. So this book has nothing to do with contacting angels or celestial beings.
It's all negative.
It is specifically summoning demons.
Demons.
That's it. Specifically demons. That's it.
What's the benefit of that?
Yeah. So this spell I did find.
Have you used it?
And it goes on for a long time, but I'll read just the end.
Okay.
Come thou forth and follow me, and make all spirits subject unto me, so that every spirit of the firmament and of the ether, upon the earth and under the earth, on dry land, or in the water, of whirling air or of rushing fire, and every spell and scourge of God may be obedient unto me.
You know, I don't want to say this, but you realize that you just gave every flat earther a hard-on when you said firmament.
Why?
Because that's their dome. They call it the firmament.
Oh.
Sorry. Just something to note.
Okay, so nothing good can come from this.
Yes, I agree.
Nothing.
Bragging rights?
Nothing. So, nothing seems to happen that night. But back in Cairo, Crowley's journals describe a peculiar situation with Rose. He says that Rose got into a strange state of mind. I had never seen anything like it before. She kept on repeating dreamily, yet intensely, they are waiting for you. They are waiting for you. Rose says that the Egyptian god Horus was sending her messages to relay to Aleister. Mm-hmm. And Aleister gets pissed. He gets annoyed. He's actually annoyed because A, Rose doesn't know anything about the occult, and B, she doesn't know anything about Egyptian mythology. So how in the world?
She's just a beautiful slut.
Yeah, beautiful hoe. What does she know?
Who needs discipline?
What does she know? Who needs spanking?
Yes.
So Crowley takes her to the museum in Cairo, and Rose is walking around the museum, and she ends up stopping in front of a statue of Horus, and she's like, that's who I saw. Coincidentally, the number of this exhibit is 666. Rose then tells Aleister that they should go back to their hotel room and wait for further guidance.
From who? Okay.
So Aleister is like, he dives headfirst into dark magic, and he's performing, like, in their hotel room. He's performing rituals and ceremonies and utterances and saying spells and trying to contact demons. And
what do you do if you're the wife of that and you're seeing this radical?
A lot of them are into it.
Oh.
A lot of them are
Was she
into it.
supportive, you think? From based off what?
I'll tell you more in a little bit, but
okay.
Yeah. So he believed that in order to become a master of the occult, you have to make contact with demonic entities and harness their energy and their power. If he ever wanted to be a great mage himself,
Yeah, he needs to own it.
he needs to harness demonic energy. He supposedly does make contact with whom he thinks is his guardian angel named Awe.
Awe.
And for 3 days in a row, at exactly the same time, for exactly 1 hour, Aleister is told through a disembodied voice teachings or directions, and he dictates it into a book called the Book of the Law. So the Book of the Law theoretically destroys all other religions. It's saying religion is like garbage. Like, throw it all out.
Yeah, because he's hearing it from
He's hearing it
a
from
demon
Awe.
or Alway or okay.
Yeah. It's basically saying that religion is garbage and everything in this book is the real.
I want to hear what this real is.
It's extremely blasphemous. It pushes liberation. It's giving yourself no restrictions. Do whatever you want. Literally, the quote of this is, "Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law." So people have the right to determine exactly how they will live their lives, regardless of the moral and religious boundaries. In one of the documentaries I was watching, it was like, that doesn't work for 99% of the population. But Aleister is convinced that's how you have to be.
Yeah.
Like, that's it.
Not even just the population, it's just society.
Yeah. So, but the theme throughout Aleister Crowley's life is that he's so high on cocaine or heroin or marijuana or opium.
Wow.
That
okay.
In this instance, he's unconvinced by his experience because he doesn't know if it was real or if it was drug induced.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So now we're throwing that.
So he has the book. Yeah. So I should have mentioned that he has a drug problem.
Yeah. Okay. Now things are connecting. Things are connecting.
You don't really ever hear about his drug problem as things progress. And then at the very end, it's like he's having nasal canal surgeries because of his cocaine use. And like,
what?
Yeah. Anyway, so he has the Book of the Law.
Yeah. That
he wrote with direction from his guardian angel, Awe. But he's not convinced that it's legit because he doesn't know really what happened.
Can you imagine editing that and then like you're like, well, what did I always say?
Yeah.
You're Alway. That's right.
Yeah.
What did I say?
So he just kind of like continues on with life.
Sure.
Yeah. Keeps doing his weird thing. 1 year after this, so it's 1905, Aleister is asked to lead a climbing expedition. He's asked to lead, which is pretty like prestigious.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So the group consists of 5 men, 3 Kashmiri servants, and 230 porters, which I'm like, that's a lot of porters.
That sounds like a huge amount of porters.
But I think the porters only go to the base of the mountain and set up like a camp.
Yeah, they don't stay.
They don't go up the whole.
Some do.
Some do. Well,
but I get it.
Yeah.
I get you.
Their aim was to climb to the summit of Kanchenjunga in India.
You have such a big smile when you're saying that. like you did something really
Like
accomplished.
I tried, so I did. It was accomplished.
Your dimples are showing. I got
it.
You did
So
it.
Aleister is anxious to break climbing records. That's like his goal. He's like, I'm going to go and I'm going to kick this mountain's ass.
I feel like those are such not contradictory, but like, how do you have time to be the all-knowing mage that summons demons and then climbs?
I know. I was
in other countries.
Yeah.
Odd.
Because he just does whatever he wants.
Yeah, because he has no other responsibility.
He'll break a 6-month rictual after he's summoned half the demons to go. Yeah, he'll do whatever he wants to do. During this climb, one of his fellow climbers becomes like appalled by Crowley's arrogance and his brutal treatment of some of the other porters. So he tries to remove Aleister from being leader of the climb. And there's an argument and it just ends up not being settled. And so 3 of the 5 main climbers and 4 of the porters decide to go back to base camp. They're like, fuck it.
Yeah, that's insane.
That's how mad they are.
Number,
yeah. So for 3 out of the 5 to be so pissed that they don't even want to try anymore.
Yeah, so now it's Crowley and the other guy.
Yeah. So this small party's heading back down the mountain and they're overcome by an avalanche.
Because Crowley summoned it.
That's what I think.
With his demon power.
I think he did. Because he was at Camp 5. Because if you climb a mountain, it takes many days to get to the summit, depending on the mountain. So there's camps all along the way.
Yeah.
So Aleister was at Camp 5. This other small group were heading back down to Camp 3 or 4. 4 or 3. And it was said that people in Camp 5, where Aleister was, could hear the frantic cries of the men that were being overcome. And Raymond, the other climber who stayed with Aleister, ran immediately and was descending as fast as he could to try to help. And Aleister Crowley stayed in his tent drinking tea. Well, that evening, he wrote a letter to the Darjeeling newspaper stating that he had advised against the descent and that a mountain accident, quote, of this sort of one thing or another, for which I have no sympathy whatever. The next day, Crowley passed the site of the accident without pausing or speaking to any of the survivors and left his own to Darjeeling, where he took the rest of the expedition funds.
Well, you know what?
Which had been paid by another climber.
Who's probably in the avalanche.
Maybe.
I think, so how I look at that is he's like, hey, I told you not to go back. They didn't. It's on you. Moving forward.
But maybe they were like, you're a jerk. Like,
yeah,
you don't know what you're doing. We're out of here. And then he was like, avalanche.
I feel like his ego would be more of like, you know what? I'm better than them.
I told you so.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I'm such an expert. I knew that the weather was going to be bad. And so if you want to go down and you die, psh. And because he's such a douche, he has no sympathy. He's like, psh, I told them, and just walk by.
Yeah.
Or he kind of summoned, but that shows like he's like bitter a little bit. And I think it may be beneath him.
To maybe, I don't know. But yeah. So
interesting.
Either way, from here on out, he's a blemish on the climbing world.
Oh, okay.
No one wants to climb with him.
So his cult doesn't want him and his climbing crew.
Yeah.
Now what's he going to do?
Now he's forced to leave India.
Yeah.
With like a leave and don't come back because he shoots and kills a man who he claimed was trying to mug him. But it was never corroborated by anybody. So there's like leave and never come back. So now he's kicked out of India. So he's kicked out of the cult. They won't have him. He's kicked out of the climbing community. They won't have him. He's kicked out of India.
Which has K2.
Yeah. He's unfazed by this and decides that he's going to trek across China on horseback.
He's the prime example of if you get knocked off the horse, just get back on.
Speaking of getting knocked off, did you read my notes?
No. Why? It's just a common phrase.
Have you been practicing dark magic?
Well, maybe I was.
He literally gets knocked off a horse.
When is that? Am I jumping ahead?
No, I'm right. That was the next sentence.
You are welcome with my
so he goes
remote viewing.
universal consciousness. I said he goes on a trek across China by horseback in a caravan with Rose and his 1-year-old daughter, because they had a daughter together. Along this trek, he dismounts his horse to stretch his legs, and when he tries to get back on the horse rears, and they both go toppling down a 40-foot ravine. Crowley lays at the bottom of the ravine, waiting for the pain of a broken body, broken limb to like kick in, and it doesn't. He's totally unscathed. So he becomes convinced that he's being protected for some prophetic purpose, and now believes himself to be the world's greatest mage. So he threw himself into a spiritual and magical work, and so he believes now that that book of the law was the real deal.
I like conviction.
Yeah. So he wants to try now again. He wants to try to contact his guardian angel again.
That 6-month thing?
No. This is just Alway.
Yeah.
His guardian angel. He also claims in one of his books that the reason why he decided to go to China was to get valuable information about the effects of smoking opium.
Valuable. Okay.
So the three of them traveled around China for a few months, and then Aleister decided it was time to go back to Great Britain. He sent Rose ahead to Calcutta to collect their belongings. He's like, go ahead, collect the things. I'll catch up to you. He doesn't catch up to her. He goes somewhere else. He goes to Saigon and gets a mistress. And he's like slutting around China. And he goes and he meets up.
Because I'm like, it's always a little bit of concern when he sends them out first.
Yeah.
You go along ahead and get the luggage.
I'll catch up.
He got some things to do.
He never meets back up with them. Ever.
He abandons them?
Yes.
Wow.
He never meets back up with them again. And when Rose finds out that he's like traipsing around with other women, she was already a heavy drinker, but like she like is a full blown alcoholic now, and their daughter contracts typhoid fever and dies.
That's sad.
Isn't that sad? And then Aleister like blames the child's death on Rose in addition to, and is just like done with her from there on out. So sad. One of the people that he comes into contact with in China is someone he's been having psychic meetings with. Ooh. Apparently, it was someone who he had met many like years before, and they had been keeping in contact through astral journeying and psychic meetings.
Nice.
And this woman's name was Elaine Simpson.
Okay.
So together they practice magic. They're not sleeping together.
Oh, yes, they are.
So Aleister's had a lot of sexual partners, but these two in particular don't ever sleep together. And they practice magic, and they're attempting to contact Alway again. And on April 20th of that year, what is it, 1905, 1908, 1904? What year is this? Doesn't matter. On April 20th, in his time with Elaine, they contact Alway again on an astral plane, and they describe it as being in a brilliant blue light with a wand in hand. And Elaine goes on to say that Alway has followed you all along to Crowley, and he wants you to follow his cult, is what she tells him.
Nice.
So Alway instructed Crowley to return to Egypt, where he would be given 3 signs. But Elaine was not to come with them. If she wasn't, specifically, if she's not going to sleep with you, she can't come.
What? You need to move.
Always said, if she's not going to sleep with you, she can't come.
So then, does she decide to sleep with him?
No, so she stays.
Hey, that's a garden angel.
Yeah.
For you. Always looking out for what's best.
So in 1906, back in England, Crowley gains his first disciples. A man by the name of Newberg.
Where do these people come from?
I
heard of your summonings.
This is kind of beautiful. This is a description of Newberg by Crowley. Crowley describes him as saying he was an agnostic, a vegetarian, a mystic, a Tolstoyan, and several other things all at once. He endeavored to express his spiritual state by wearing the green star of Esperanto, though he could not speak the language. By refusing to wear a hat, even in London, to wash and to wear trousers, whenever addressed, he wriggled convulsively, and his lips, which were 3 times too large for him, and had been put on hastily as an afterthought, emitted the most extraordinary laugh that had ever come my way. To these advantages he united those of being extraordinarily well-read, overflowing with exquisitely subtle humor, and being one of the best-natured people that had ever trod this planet.
So, a nice guy.
That was kind of a beautiful thing to say about somebody.
But if it's said by him, there's always a catch. What's the catch?
He's using him.
Of course.
I don't know if he ever goes on to love Newberg.
Like, sexually?
Oh, no. They are lovers.
Oh,
They become lovers.
Okay, thanks for throwing... That was not subtle.
Newberg...
Just confirming.
Newberg does love Aleister. He goes on to love him. But does Aleister ever love him back? And not all my sources say no.
Well,
all signs
I'm sure he
no.
probably did the whole farting thing. And
some of my sources said that that Aleister saw that Newberg was like a nice, sweet, fragile flower, and when was able to use it against him because he saw him as weaker than.
Yeah.
So he ends up subjecting Newberg to a lot of sadistic things.
Okay. Like
testing his loyalty. And eventually Aleister wants to attempt Enochian magic. And Enochian is from angels.
Okay.
So in 1909, they go to Algiers and they walk for 2 days in the Sahara Desert. They're trying to achieve like sense deprivation.
Yeah.
So like the quiet of the desert. Nothing. There's no interference. Mm-hmm. And they're both high on mescaline and weed.
Okay.
And they're trying a summoning ritual, Karazhan. And Karazhan is also known as the devil. So what they're trying to do is literally open the gates of hell. So these two are in the desert.
Yeah.
Performing this ritual, trying to open the gates of hell.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's,
so this ritual is trying to persuade entities from out of this world to come into this world. And it involves the drawing of a circle around yourself with runes or scripts kept to protect you from within the circle. So you are able to commune, but not be affected. When you are out of the circle, you are an open target, pretty much. So that's like when you see like Wiccan and like other like ritualistic things where you see like a big old pentagram or like a circle within a bigger circle. Yeah. So the circle is the safe space. You stay in the circle. And then like the ruins and everything will help protect you from being attacked. Yeah. Outside that, you're
don't break
free
the
play.
line of the salt.
Yeah, exactly. So
I've seen enough horror movies.
Yeah, right?
I get this.
It's almost spooky season. So Crowley puts Newberg in the circle.
Put him in the circle.
And he puts himself out of the circle.
Okay.
Because he wants to be affected. But it's supposed to be like really dangerous to be outside. It's supposed to put you in the crosshairs of any demonic energy coming over. In the case, though, people believe that maybe Crowley was unaffected because he was such an asshole that he was like immune.
Or just didn't work. But, yeah.
So the ritual is going on, and Crowley and Newberg are engaged in intercourse. And at the point of climax, Crowley claims to have contacted the secret chiefs. And so now he's put together sex and magic is like the perfect combination.
I could have told you that.
Incorporating sex into magic would be a shortcut or a conduit into achieving communication.
Amplifier.
It's an amplifier, exactly. So after this experience, Newberg changes, and he's never quite himself, and he never like makes like a full recovery. It's just like very weird. Him and Crowley have like an on and off again relationship for a few years. Ugh. And then in 1914, they have like a really drastic falling out. Crowley goes on to like say really anti-Semitic, like horrible things about him, and like
anti-Semitic was he a?
He must have been, I guess. I don't know. Keeps making fun of his lips. Calls him like a sausage lip. Not very nice.
He
Not
doesn't
very
seem like
nice
a nice person.
No.
I don't know if I'm rooting for him anymore.
That's where it came. Okay.
Yeah.
So from 1914 to 1919, Crowley goes to New York, specifically engaging in sex magic all over, everywhere. Just wherever he can do it, he is.
Hey, well, no one can complain about his work ethic.
That's true.
Practice makes perfect.
Gross. Okay, so right now we're in the midst of World War I, and Crowley offers his service to the British intelligence as a spy, and they reject him. So he makes a really patriotic move. And
becomes a spy anyways?
And becomes a spy for the Germans.
Oh, what a dick.
Well, it's not necessarily being a spy, but he starts writing pro-German propaganda.
Oh, okay, that's not a spy. Okay.
But still, kind of a dick move.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So needless to say, Britain labels him a traitor.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair.
Happens.
Fair.
Yeah. Touche.
Yeah. So
good on you.
Crowley decides he needs to redirect his energy into becoming the prophet that he was meant to be.
Yeah.
He needs to stop dicking around.
Yeah.
And he founds a religion called the Lima.
He founds it.
He starts this religion called the Lima. Nice. And the book of the law is the book of the law. That's what they're studying out of. There's other texts, there's other ancient texts. He talks about the Abramel, Abraham the Mage. There's
question for you. Do you know if is Abraham the Mage, is that specifically this cult type of thing related, or is that actually found in other religion texts?
It's found in other religions and things like that. It's supposed to be that Abraham bestowed upon it's very esoteric. It was like one Abraham bestowed upon Abraham of Worms, which is a city in France, all the magical knowledge in the world.
Okay.
And this is in the 14th century. And Abraham was told that he could have this book to do with as he wills, and he could share it with only those closest to him. So, then it's like, okay, who's the author, who's the source, who's the whatever.
Well, that helps me understand where it's coming from.
Yeah, and then and there's texts like this all over the world. It'll be people claiming that they've received information from deities, from entities, that they're prophets, and they compile these into works, and these works are circulating. So it's hard to filter through what's fact and what's fiction. You know?
Is it hard?
I don't know. Okay, so he founds the Lima.
Nice.
He founds the Lima. He finds a ramshackle farmhouse in Cefalu, Sicily, which becomes his temple. It's called the Abbey of the Lima. It's now 1920s. He buys this farmhouse in the Italian countryside, and it's to be considered an anti-monastery.
Okay. Like Antichrist?
I guess worshiping the devil. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The Abbey is set up, and it houses a collection of people from all over the world. I went through, I couldn't find an exact count, but I think at the height of this religion, there was about 43 members, which isn't huge.
No.
And they were coming and going, so I don't know that they were all at this location at the same time. At one point, I only thought that there was like 4 or 5 there at a time. The first people that join him at the Abbey are his 2 mistresses.
From China or from other places?
I'm assuming
just in general, mistresses. Okay.
So Ninette, Frau Shumway, and Leah Herzig. So they are his Scarlet Women.
Nice.
Yeah. So the interesting thing is that Ninette and Leah met on a ship traveling across the ocean. I think coming from New York to England or to Europe.
Where it's typically a lot of wealthy people.
Yeah. So they met each other there. Ninette had just lost her husband in a car crash in the Americas, and she had a child. So Ninette was a widow, and Leah was like grossly pregnant with Crowley's child. Okay. So they move into this anti-commune together.
Okay.
And the women hate each other.
Between the two?
The two. They're like fighting for Aleister's affection.
That's why you gotta balance it.
But Leah goes on to say, in a journal that she dedicates herself wholly to the great work. I will work for wickedness. I will kill my heart. I will be shameless before all men. I will freely prostitute my body to all creatures. So
that was a quote in her high school yearbook.
No. So here are the disciples. They all practice sex magic while under the influence of opium and hashish and cocaine. They even had a dog named Satan.
Oh, that's cute.
Children were running amok, clothing optional. They were allowed to come and go as they pleased. They could watch the adults fornicating all over the place. And Crowley firmly believed that if you gave man absolute freedom to do whatever he wanted, nothing but good could come from it.
Yeah, it seems like it's going well, I guess.
Seems like it's going really well. So
How are they emotionally?
It was not a pleasant living environment. They had no cleaning services, and if no one felt like cleaning, they weren't gonna clean.
Well, I guess, yeah. Those are those small things that you don't really read. Those are like what you read in between the lines of these societies. But there's free sex. Yeah, but
everything's filthy.
Once you're done with that,
everything's disgusting.
There's more.
So gross. There's more.
Than that.
Stickiness everywhere.
Take a bath. I don't want to take a bath.
It's so
my
gross.
God.
So a lot of the members were getting sick regularly. There was a lot of discomforts, they said, but they were all so devoted to Crowley and his unyielding supplication of drugs.
They're addicts. Period.
That's all it is that they're addicts feeding off of his feeding them.
You got some cocaine?
Yeah, I'll suck your dick.
I'll suck his. Yeah.
In addition to Leah being super, super pregnant with Aleister's child, she also had a young daughter.
Okay.
So it was kind of like, what do they call it? I think they call it Irish twins, where it's like the baby's born and then you get pregnant right away. Oh. So there's only a 9-month gap between the two kids.
Why do they call it the Irish twins?
I don't know, but I'm pretty
like we
sure.
shouldn't be saying that.
I'm pretty sure. I think that's what it's called.
Maybe we shouldn't call it that. We do have Irish listeners.
So she had a baby and she's pregnant again. Okay. So it's like back-to-back babies. The first baby, named Leah, was sick when they arrived at the Abbey. Never really gets better. Goes to doctors, is there for a few days, ends up dying. Whether it's because of this or something else, 6 days later, Leah, who is 8 months pregnant, miscarries.
8 months is a hard time.
That's rough. That's almost there. That's there. Now that baby would survive. Nanette is suspected of cursing and performing rituals against Leah and her offspring.
But here's the thing. Could she actually get mad? Because it's also reconfirming to her that this is all real. You know?
I don't know.
What a vicious cycle.
So Nanette is kicked out. Crowley says, you need to redirect yourself. You need to refocus whatever you're doing and get out of here. But she's pregnant too with Crowley's child.
Everyone's pregnant.
Everyone's pregnant. So he just kicks her out. And he goes, call me when you get your act together. So Nanette actually moves in with a peasant woman not far from the Abbey and just stays there, and you never hear about her again. So this house in Sicily is highly suspected of being cursed. And everyone who travels there are advised to stay away from it because it's still standing today. And on one of the walls, it's painted in script. It says, stab your demonic smile to my brain. Soak me in cognac and cocaine.
No, thank you.
The sex magic rituals that Crowley has been asking members to perform become more and more extreme. Yeah. And he starts to include bestiality.
Details. Especially, wait a second. No, I spoke too soon.
Spoke too soon.
I don't want more details.
Trigger warning.
I wanted details on the other stuff. Not when you said that.
Leah is so crazy devoted to Aleister Crowley that she's allowing him to subject her to acts of bestiality. So in this one instance, they're conducting a ritual where she is being mounted by a goat, and when the goat is reaching climax, its throat is slit.
How would you like to be the person who has to be the judge of that? Now's the time.
So after this incident, the Abbey starts to collapse. Crowley's drug addiction is out of control.
Yeah.
Leah has a nervous breakdown.
I think the goat situation would have been
But Crowley is still insisting that this work has to continue. It starts that if anybody says I need to go to the bathroom, or I was thinking, the use of the word I, they were encouraged to go cut themselves so that they can be reminded that they don't have an independent identity. There is no I.
Clever. Old school team bonding. Team building.
So eventually a middle-class man named Raoul Loveday moves to the Abbey with his wife. He wrote home saying that he was happier at the Abbey than he had ever been. Unfortunately, he gets sick and dies after drinking feline blood that was used in a sacrificial ritual.
I didn't know you can die after drinking cat blood.
And here's where a couple sources vary. Several sources say he died because he consumed feline blood, which has parasites and things in it, and then it killed him. And then others say that he drank mountain spring water and contracted typhoid fever.
Those are
which I'm like,
extreme
mountain
difference.
Spring water? Aren't there always like lumberjacks like posing in commercials with like a jug of water and an owl on their shoulder?
With like music in the background.
Yeah. Anyway.
It's like someone's using their imagination. It's either water, pour water, or the blood of a sacrifice.
I'm leaning more towards the blood of the cat because after his death, Loveday's wife immediately leaves the Abbey and goes to the press.
Okay.
If it was mountain water,
yeah,
I don't think she would have done that. Crowley and his group of almost 43 members at the Abbey fall under attack, and eventually Mussolini kicks him out of Italy. So if we're keeping track, let's go back.
Recap.
So he's kicked out of the occult. He's kicked out of the Hermetic Order. Then he's kicked out of India? No, wait.
I want to say he got kicked out of his family. I think his mom kicked him out.
Well, the schools kicked him out, and then the occult kicked him out, and then the climbing association kicked him out. Then India kicked him out, and then Italy kicked him out.
Yes.
There's a lot of getting kicked out. Once news gets to the press, middle class man Raoul Loveday, some other things leak out, some like details of some of these sacrifices of animals and like other like rituals, really grotesque things. He becomes coined in the press as the wickedest man in the world. And he kind of is. So his reputation's ruined.
But did he have a reputation to begin with?
Not really.
I don't feel like it's...
He has
a
a reputation for being awful.
Yeah.
So I guess he keeps living up to his reputation.
And he likes that. I think when he hears stuff like this, he goes,
Great.
Yeah. They want to keep me silent.
Once they're kicked out of Italy, Crowley just deserts everybody.
Yeah, typical.
Leah,
just abandoned.
the woman who would do anything for him, leaves her.
Yeah.
Nothing, never to be seen again. Some of the members go mad, and one of them even commits suicide. He's just like, can't be bothered by it.
It's like the psychopath piece, right? Where it's the emotions just is different, right? The emotional state is just different.
Has no feelings one way or another about anything. So he spends the last years of his life living day to day, like hand to mouth. He tries to mentor people in the occult to gain a little bit of money.
So he finally burned through his fortune?
He burned through his inheritance. He has nothing left.
Okay.
He is just, he's just doing like, and so the thing is that inheritance was supposed to last him well through his life and maybe even be left over for any of his
What's he now,
heirs.
like 32?
What is he now? I think he's in his
you're saying
60s.
the 20s, right? So it's
now
at
it's
least
1934. When was he born?
60, 75.
Yeah. So it's 1934 now. He's going from one like halfway house to another, like one boarding house to another. And finally a writer kind of comes after him a little bit and calls him like a black magician and says some like kind of nasty things about him. And Aleister, in like a last ditch attempt
to save his reputation,
in attempts to get more money, sues him.
Oh.
So he takes his meager sum to hire an attorney to sue this writer and he loses. So now he goes from having very little to bankruptcy. He has nothing. In light of this failed court case that he was fighting, a woman approaches him named Deidre McKelly, and she says in maybe subtler terms, "I want to have your baby."
Oh, yeah, you do.
So Crowley is like, yeet, yeet.
Yeah, but he hasn't had a bath in forever.
It's not, yeah. But it's not just that she wants to have his baby. She wants to have a magical baby.
Oh, I'm sure he will say he can do it.
So they are performing rituals in attempts to
get a magical baby.
Develop a magical baby in utero.
I'll tell you whatever you want, babe.
And they eventually do have a son.
Magic.
His name is Aleister Ataturk.
Aleister, that's a jerk.
That's a jerk. Ataturk. Actually, I'm going to pause really quick and see if he's still alive. So of Aleister Ataturk, I just looked this up real quick, so this may not be. It said, sadly, life treated him badly. In his later years, he had mental health problems for most of his life, and there are harrowing reports of his later decline. He died in a car crash in 2002. But he was infamous for a very serious attempt to overtake the government of the UK.
Oh. Did he ever gain his magical powers?
I don't know. Well, that's a whole nother episode. Okay.
Just didn't know if he reached his full potential.
I know, right? Good golly. Okay. So his son is Aleister Ataturk. And of his 5 known children, this is the only child that Aleister Crowley ever cared about.
Mm-hmm.
In 1947, Aleister Crowley starts to decline in health.
Yeah.
And in
75-ish.
Mm-hmm. And it's kind of funny. I mean, it's not funny, but it is funny because he was a notorious sex fiend.
Yeah.
When he couldn't maintain an erection, he looked at Deidre and was like, "I'm gonna die." That was his downfall. So in 1947, Deidre was sitting with Aleister when he passed, and she said that the curtains bustled through the air. And there was a burst of thunder.
Always the showman.
Yeah. So that's his life. He does go on to be an extreme, icon
Martyr.
for the occult.
A martyr.
Yeah. So in the 60s, John Lennon calls him a personal hero and ends up putting him on the cover of the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band. So Aleister Crowley's on the cover. And the Rolling Stones were a big fan of his.
Why? I think because it's the shock value.
I think so too. Right? I think so too. Yeah. Ozzy Osbourne has a song about him called Mr. Crowley. I actually really enjoy that song. Give it a listen. But yeah, so that's awesome. That's pretty much Aleister Crowley in a nutshell. He does go on to say in his later lives, I couldn't find an exact quote, so I'm just kind of referencing this, not verbatim, but he goes on to contemplate if what he did in his life had any relevance at all.
Well,
if he had gone about it all the wrong way. And it's kind of like,
charlatan.
Yeah. Yeah. Because he was so...
he had everything. He had everything he was set up. Everyone talks about privilege and, right. Mm-hmm. You are set up to do a lot of good things. Mm-hmm. And I think it was, going back to the great disappointment, he was a huge disappointment to, I think, himself, ultimately.
Yeah.
And those around him.
Ultimately, what did he accomplish?
Nothing. Yeah. Well, I think he's the father of occultism, but I think so. But the foundation was set on potentially a drug-induced lie.
Yes. So I think that's where there's a lot of confusion now, is that people are worshiping Aleister Crowley, and it's no. It's not the man. It's maybe what he was trying to do, but definitely not what he did.
Him trying to overcome failures.
Maybe. I'm not even really sure. Don't summon demons. I don't know how to subtly say that. Don't do it.
Well, I will say that I don't think he was what's the term? The cruelest man in the world, or the
wickedest?
The wickedest? I don't think he earns that. But he's not the wickedest man in the world. I think he's He's depraved.
Depraved is a good one.
Yeah, but he's not, I want to call him the wickedest.
Yeah.
Right.
He does get that coin, but yeah, you're right. I'm not sure.
It's just sad. Once you like broke it down, I'm like, this is just sad.
So I didn't want to give him the grace of more than one episode.
No, I wouldn't. And I was rooting for him to like, we'll see what maybe he overcomes it. He learns from his trials. And nope.
Like I was saying, though, the people that knew him believed that he had really accomplished some of the things that he was attempting to do. And some people even said that he himself was being controlled by demons.
Well, when you're in drug-induced,
but when everybody's high on mescaline and
when you experience it, and so there's just a lot of influence, right? That doesn't necessarily mean it's true.
Yeah.
So it's just like any type of cult. You have a influential leader. It's not a uncharismatic person. It's someone who's very charismatic.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, you want to hear more about the Boleskine house and what's happened in its history since the portal's never been closed?
Hit me up.
Okay. So it's on 22 acres. And Aleister Crowley was only there for 6 weeks. He bought the house, performed a portion of the ritual, and left and never came back. So the house comes into possession of Major Grant Edward, who commits suicide. After that, a newlywed couple move into the manor. The wife is blind. After being in the home for a month, the husband just leaves. And the woman is found wandering around because she can't see. In 1970,
that's just
Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin buys the house because he's a big Aleister Crowley fan, and he sets out trying to restore it. But he never stays in the house for more than a couple of days, and he ends up giving the care of the house over to an acquaintance of his, Malcolm Dent. And Dent goes on to say that the house, when they got it, was a wreck, and it had been more or less abandoned for so long. There had been at least 3 fires. Parts of the building were missing. It was just he said it had gone to hell.
Yeah.
So after a few weeks, Dent heard strange rumblings from the hallway, which when he stopped to investigate, they stopped and they resumed after he closed a door. He goes on to explain that the most terrifying night of his life occurred when he awoke one night to hear what sounded like a wild animal snorting and banging outside of his bedroom door. It went on for quite some time, and it was not until morning that Dent dared to open the door, and there was nothing there, and no sign that anything had ever been there. Dent added, whatever was there was pure evil. Another friend who stayed at Boleskine awoke one night claiming she had been attacked by some kind of devil. Other occurrences, such as chairs switching places, doors slamming open and closed for no reason, and carpets and rugs rolling up inexplicably, failed to deter Dent from staying. Dent met his wife at Boleskine and raised their family there. The house was sold in 1991.
Wait a second. So Boleskine is the house, right?
I mean, yeah.
So someone lived there and raised their family in it?
Yeah, Dent.
No issues?
No issues? What do you mean no issues? Attacked by some kind of evil, chairs switching, doors slamming open and closed.
But he raises all his kids. That's all just superficial.
Yeah. If you can handle it, you can handle it. Some people have more cojones than others. So yes, Dent met his wife at the Boleskine at in the area, and they raised their family there.
I'm just surprised that they when short-term experiences and then like I raise my family experiences, right?
Yeah,
completely different.
So the house is sold in 1991, and it becomes, I think it's a bed and breakfast kind of a deal until 2015. And they report nothing. They're like, no, it's fine. I don't know what all the hubbub's about. So it's interesting. But in 2015, the then owners were out shopping, and the house caught fire and burnt down. So it's still standing, but it's just pretty much foundation.
Okay.
A few walls.
I may have to look up that picture.
It's interesting. And, it's a beautiful house on shores Loch Ness.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, so that is Willy Wonka.
Moral of the story or the conclusion of the story?
Stop summoning demons.
Don't sleep with goats.
That too.
That's what I got for
What if you just cuddled them when they were baby
Cuddle's
goats?
fine. Cuddle's fine.
If you can carry a baby goat into war.
You can cuddle with the goat.
Yeah, just don't fornicate with a goat.
Nope, don't cross the line. There are lines. Even if they're self-imposed, just stop it.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. If you want to reach out to us, you can send us an email. stopthinkingwithyourbutt@gmail.com. You can follow us on Instagram @stopthinkingwithyourbutt. You can follow us at Twitter, stopthinkingwyb.
You could also follow us on TikTok. And now we are posting our podcast episodes on YouTube. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Stay curious.
Stop thinking with your butt.
Out. No, because everything that he was doing was evil.
Well.
No. Not
Justified.
well. No.